Isaiah come out all right on Monday? Is he good to go?
He is.
Brad, there's so much focus, obviously, on Paul George, but I want to get your thoughts on Myles Turner, what he brings, and a true rim protector in this league.
Yeah, he's going to be an excellent player. He already is really good, and I think that his ability to protect the rim on defense, his ability to create havoc on that end of the floor with his length and his size and anticipation and his effort, and then his ability to space the floor along with rolling to the rim and finishing is really impressive for a guy his age. He's going to be really good.
What do you think of Paul George's game?
Yeah, I think Paul's obviously been one of the better players in the league for a long time, and one of the things that I think that people don't talk probably enough about is how fast he is running off screens. When you see guys like Beal and when you see guys running off screens with great speed, that really puts you in a predicament if they just get a sliver, of space. That's a lot like what Paul is. If you give him any space at all, he makes shots, and then he's big enough where he can kind of create his own against some matchups. So, he's a tough matchup for everybody, but he puts you in a bind in a lot of ways.
Coach, talk about Jeff Teague, the matchup in the backcourt, and kind of problems that he.
Yeah, I think Jeff is, and again, a little bit like John Wall, right, is the size and his ability to drive it downhill, his ability to get into the paint and make plays for himself and others. And then he's shooting 40% from three since 2017 started. So he's really having a great second half of the year, and he's been an all-star. He's a hard matchup. He was part of a team that beat us in the playoffs last year, and he's a hard guy to guard too. This is a talented team.
Sorry about that. You talked about this last kind of 10 games being important for kind of finding rhythm and guys playing together and hopefully being healthy. What do you want to see from the final 10, 11 games from this team? What do you kind of want to accomplish?
Yeah, I just want to play well. And again, I'd like to see us play, have as many bodies available as possible, just because it's been such an up and down year from that standpoint. And, it's good to play a game, take a day off and play another game and still have the same amount of bodies. It's pretty unique. So that's the biggest thing for us is we've got to play, like I said the other night, we've got to build on what we're doing defensively and on the glass, and we've got to play a lot less careless than we have at times. And, if we do that, then we'll have more possessions. If you have more possessions, you hope that works out for you.
For you, were you working on whittling down the rotations and kind of getting those things set? I know it's a lot
Some
of
of that's
matchup-based.
a lot of that's going to be matchup based. That the 5 guys that start the game are going to play a lot. That Smart's going to play a lot, right? That stuff without even looking at the matchups. But I think that a lot of that stuff is dependent on who you're playing against. And one of the benefits of not being healthy all year is we've got a lot of options in that regard. And so I trust the guys on the bench to be able to come in and help us be good.
Coach, 2 things. Their inconsistency, win one, lose one, and do you see them as a potential playoff matchup?
Well, you never know how this playoff stuff's all going to sort itself out, but clearly, I think they're a really good team, and I don't pay as much attention to the back and forth as maybe when you're in the locker room. What I pay attention to is they're healthy, and the last game that I watched them play against Utah looked exceptionally good. And when Monte Ellis now healthy, and then Al Jefferson back scoring double figures, you think about what they can do with those two, plus Aaron Brooks off the bench with his ability to score. They got a lot of places to turn when things aren't going well. And so it's a team that clearly, can beat anybody on a given night and has a ton of ways to do it.
Seems like you've been playing Al Horford with the bench a lot lately. What do you like about that, and how do you think that's gone so far?
Well, it was a little bit tougher when Isaiah was out, which again is why you want to be able to play healthy, right? I think we tried to stagger him and Isaiah a little bit, but Al missed 2 games on the West Coast trip, then Isaiah missed 2 this week. So we haven't been able to do it perfectly, but it's something that we feel moving forward is something that we're going to look to continue to do, and hopefully by the time the next month ends, we have enough of a sample size of how that looks.
10 years ago tomorrow was the Butler Florida Sweet 16 game. Have you ever had any friendly.
Al
banter with
Horford
Al
charged.
about- Yeah.
That was a charge. And
You told him that.
I sent it to him when we first signed him. No, we had a 1-point lead with, what was it, 3 minutes to go or whatever, and we had a doctor and a dentist guarding Horford and Noah, and that was not ideal. And Horford took one of our undersized fours. It's probably an undersized 3, who's now an assistant at Butler, and took him from the 3-point line to the basket and got an and one. And it was a charge. And you can ask Al about it later.
Save that for after.
It doesn't still irk me or anything. It's fine.
I know you're trying to play your guys as much as possible just to mesh things, but the commissioner has come out and spoken out about some of these teams resting players. Is there a real dilemma there? What do you see?
Ever since I've been in the league, obviously as you get closer to the very end, a lot of people are, held out, especially as you get close, in the last week of the season as positioning is secure. I think that's probably been a part of it for at least the whole time I've been in the league. But I understand, the discussion, and I certainly am, we're all sensitive to the fact that, somebody's going to watch a game in TD Garden for the first time tonight. And that's why that, I don't know if this is fortunate or unfortunate. It's probably more unfortunate because you never want to have injuries, but, we had a lot of injuries, so we got rest kind of because we had to get rest. But I do think in the last week of the season, it's probably a little bit different. But I also understand as each team goes about it to try to best set themselves up for the postseason, the idea and the opportunities to get rest. I'm hopeful, like everybody else, that the extra week in the season can appropriately handle some of those things. But there are some really tough stretches in this, and it is difficult, and you just have to try to manage those as well as you can. And if some team chooses to rest their players, then I understand it has to be a discussion, but I understand why they do it.
Do you think a lot of that has to do with scheduling? That some of these games just kind of jam together? I mean, we saw a few tough stretches.
Well, we had
throughout the
some.
regular season.
I mean, our December. We knew going into the year, and I think this is probably what a lot of teams do is they look at the schedule and they say, okay, we knew December was going to be a monster, and that on December 30th we were going to have played 6 games in 9 days, and then we knew early February the West Coast trip coming back, All-Star break. Toronto, Detroit, back, West Coast trip again. You knew that was going to be really tough, and you just kind of know that in advance, and you try to plan for it the best you can. But again, ours was, some of our decisions were alleviated by the fact that we didn't have guys available because of injuries. And but again, I understand why teams do it, but I understand the dilemma.
I think Crowder has taken 56% of his shots from three-point range this year. Is that a number that you're comfortable with? Is that what you're looking from him?
And if they're all open, whatever, right? And even if they're lightly challenged, he's a really good three-point shooter. You look across the league at guys that do what he does, that's pretty typical, And I think that's something that is a great testament to him, that he can continue to be as efficient as he's being, shooting that percentage and shooting as high of a percentage with that volume.
Speaking of Jay, he spoke rebounding for you guys, the team as a whole, on the incline, particularly since the All-Star break. He said for him it's a matter of focus. Is it that simple?
Well, to be on the incline for rebounding for us was going to be really easy because we started in the basement. We had nowhere to go but up. So I don't know. I think that it's a matter of being in great position before the shot goes up. It's a matter of making hard initial contact on a block out. It's a matter of the guards pursuing. Sometimes they're going to bounce over your head and taller guys are going to get it, but you try to take the luck out as much as you can.